Listen to me. The way you see yourself determines everything. You want to change your life, change the way you see you. Stop walking around like you're not built for greatness. Stop carrying labels that don't belong to you. Stop letting your past, your failures, or other people's opinions define who you are. Everything you do, everything you achieve, everything you become, it all starts in your mind. The way you see yourself is the foundation of your success, the driving force behind your actions, and the difference between staying stuck and breaking through. If you believe you're not good enough, not smart enough, not capable enough, that belief will control your life. It will dictate the opportunities you take, the risks you avoid, and the limits you place on yourself. But the moment you change how you see yourself, you change what's possible for you. Think about it. Every great leader, every champion, every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary had one thing in common. They saw themselves differently than the rest of the world did. While others doubted them, while circumstances told them they weren't qualified, while failures whispered, you'll never make it, they chose to believe otherwise. They didn't wait for the world to validate them. They validated themselves. They created a vision in their minds of who they were going to become, and then they became it. Your mindset is either working for you or against you. If you're constantly telling yourself that you don't have what it takes, you're programming your brain to believe it. And when your brain believes it, your actions follow. You hesitate, you procrastinate, you make excuses, you play small, not because you're not capable, but because your mind has already decided that. But if you flip the script, if you start feeding your mind with belief, with possibility, with determination, your actions will shift. You'll take more chances. You'll push past fear. You'll show up with confidence. And when you show up differently, life responds differently. Look at your life right now. Where are you holding yourself back? What areas of your life are limited, not because you lack talent or potential, but because you've convinced yourself that you can't go further? Maybe it's your career, your health, your relationships, your dreams, whatever it is. The only thing stopping you is your perception of yourself. If you see yourself as someone who always struggles, you'll keep struggling. If you see yourself as someone who never finishes what they start, you'll keep quitting. If you see yourself as someone who isn't worthy of success, you'll keep sabotaging it every time it comes close. Your mindset is a filter shaping the way you experience life. Change the filter and you change the outcome. But here's the truth. Changing how you see yourself doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. It's a commitment. It's daily work. You have to train your mind just like you train your body. You have to wake up every single day and feed it the right thoughts, the right beliefs, the right mindset. And just like in the gym, at first it's uncomfortable. At first it feels unnatural, but the more you do it, the stronger you get. Start telling yourself a new story. Start seeing yourself as powerful, as capable, as someone who deserves success. And don't just say it, act on it. Walk like you believe it, speak like you believe it, move like you believe it, because when you start showing up with that level of certainty, the world has no choice but to respond. You are not stuck. You are not limited. You are not defined by your past or by what people think of you. You are defined by how you see yourself. Change your mindset and you change your life. You are not your past. Your past does not define you. It doesn't matter where you came from, what mistakes you've made, or how many times you failed. You are not your past. Too many people stay stuck, not because they aren't capable of more, but because they keep looking backward instead of forward. They've let old failures, past struggles, and past versions of themselves dictate what they can and cannot do. But if you want to grow, if you want to level up, if you want to become the person you were meant to be, you have to let go of the past and step into your future. Think about it. How can you move forward if you're always looking behind you? How can you run toward your goals if you're carrying the weight of regret, guilt, and self-doubt? You can't. The past is heavy. It will slow you down, drain your energy, and keep you locked in a cycle of what ifs and should haves. The only way to break free is to stop identifying with the person you used to be and start embracing the person you are becoming. Maybe you failed before. Maybe you've made bad decisions. Maybe you've let yourself or others down. So what? That was then. This is now. You are not the same person you were last year, last month, or even yesterday. Every experience, every challenge, every setback has shaped you, but it does not define you. What defines you is what you do next. How you choose to move forward, how you choose to rewrite your story, how you choose to see yourself from this moment on. Some of the most successful people in the world have the worst past. They've been broke, they've been rejected, they've hit rock bottom. But the reason they made it isn't because they had perfect lives. It's because they refuse to let their past hold them back. They used it as fuel. They took the pain, the failures, the disappointments, and turned them into stepping stones. You have to do the same. It's not easy. The past has a way of creeping in, reminding you of every time you fell short, every time you weren't enough, every time someone told you that you couldn't make it. But listen to me, that voice is lying. The only reason the past feels so strong is because you keep replaying it in your mind. You keep giving it power. But today, that stops. Starting now, you're no longer the person who was held back by fear. You're no longer the person who settled for less. You're no longer the person who let circumstances define them. From this moment forward, you are who you choose to be. And if you choose growth, if you choose strength, if you choose to rise up despite everything you've been through, then nothing, not your past, not your mistakes, not anyone's opinion can stop you. You have to see yourself as the person you're becoming, not the person you were. Speak like the future version of you. Move like the future version of you. Believe like the future version of you. The old you was doubting. The old you was hesitating. The old you was afraid. But the new you is unstoppable. Your past is a lesson, not a life sentence. Learn from it, grow from it, but don't live in it, because the only thing that truly matters is where you're going next. Stop seeing limits, start seeing possibilities. Your mind is the battlefield. If you see limits, you will live limited. If you see barriers, you will stay behind them. But if you start seeing possibilities, if you start believing that there is another way, another opportunity, another level, then everything changes. Too many people talk themselves out of success before they even start. They convince themselves they don't have the skills, the resources, or the talent. They let fear and doubt shrink their vision before they ever take action. But the truth is, there are no limits, only the ones you choose to accept. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, I can't do this, or that's impossible for me? How many dreams have you pushed aside because you assumed they were too big, too unrealistic, too far out of reach? The problem isn't your ability, your background, or your circumstances. The problem is your mindset. If you see the world through a lens of limitations, you'll always find excuses, roadblocks, and reasons to quit. But if you start seeing the world through a lens of possibility, you'll start noticing opportunities you never saw before. Look at the most successful people in the world. They weren't handed success. They weren't born with special advantages. The difference between them and everyone else is that they refused to accept the idea of impossible. They saw opportunities where others saw dead ends. They believed in themselves when no one else did. And because they saw possibilities, they found a way. You have to do the same. Maybe you don't have the money right now. Maybe you don't have the right connections. Maybe you don't have all the skills you need yet. That doesn't mean you stop. That means you find another way. You study, you grind, you build, you create opportunities where none existed before. The people who win in life aren't the ones who had everything figured out from the start. They're the ones who refuse to give up when things looked impossible. The only difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is perspective. Two people can look at the same situation. One sees a dead end, the other sees a challenge to overcome. One sees failure, the other sees a lesson. One sees struggle, the other sees strength being built. Your perspective determines your reality. If you keep telling yourself it's too hard, I don't have what it takes, you will prove yourself right. But if you start saying there's a way, I'll figure it out, I'm built for this, you will find solutions. You have to train yourself to see what's possible, not what's missing. Instead of saying I don't have the resources, start asking how can I make this happen with what I have? Instead of saying I don't know the right people, start focusing on becoming the person that the right people want to connect with. Instead of saying I've never done this before, start thinking every expert was once a beginner. The words you use shape your reality. The story you tell yourself either pushes you forward or holds you back. It's time to stop seeing yourself as limited. Stop seeing obstacles as the end. Stop letting fear tell you what you can and cannot do. There is always a way, but you have to be willing to look for it. The second you start seeing possibilities instead of limitations, your entire world opens up. Your confidence grows, your energy shifts, your motivation increases, and suddenly things that once felt out of reach start moving toward you. But it all starts with how you see yourself and the world around you. You can choose to see limits or you can choose to see possibilities, and the choice you make will determine everything. Confidence comes from ownership. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And the way you build it is by taking ownership of your life, your actions, and your mindset. Too many people wait for confidence to show up before they take action, but that's not how it works. Confidence comes from ownership. ownership of your strengths, ownership of your weaknesses, ownership of your choices, ownership of your growth. The moment you stop blaming circumstances, stop waiting for the right moment, stop looking for external validation, and own who you are, confidence becomes unshakable. Think about it. When you truly own something, when you take responsibility for it, you take care of it differently. You treat it differently. You invest in it differently. The same goes for your life. When you take ownership of your skills, you develop them. When you take ownership of your potential, you push yourself. When you take ownership of your flaws, you stop making excuses and start making improvements. That's where real confidence is built. Not in pretending to be perfect, but in owning everything that makes you you. Most people lack confidence because they don't trust themselves. They make promises to themselves and don't keep them. They set goals and don't follow through. They talk about what they're going to do, but never actually do it. And over time, that builds self-doubt. If you keep proving to yourself that you can't commit, that you can't push through, that you can't deliver, of course you're going to struggle with confidence. But the moment you start taking ownership of your actions, everything changes. Confidence comes from doing the work, from showing up, from keeping the promises you make to yourself, from knowing that no matter what happens, you will find a way. It's not about arrogance. It's not about faking it until you make it. It's about trust. When you trust yourself, when you own your journey, your effort, your discipline, you don't need outside validation. You don't need permission. You don't need to compare yourself to others because you know you're handling your business. You know you're becoming better every single day. You can't control everything in life, but you can control how you respond. You can control the effort you put in. You can control your attitude, your work ethic, your discipline. And when you take ownership of those things, confidence follows. Because confidence isn't about knowing that everything will go perfectly. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, you've got what it takes to handle it. When you own your story, no one can use it against you. When you own your past, your struggles, your failures, they stop being weights that hold you down and start being lessons that make you stronger. When you own your strengths, you don't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. When you own your weaknesses, you'll let them define you. You work on them, improve them, and grow past them. Ownership is the foundation of confidence. So stop waiting for confidence to magically appear. Stop waiting for someone to tell you that you're good enough. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Take ownership of your life. Take ownership of your growth. Take ownership of your future. Because the second you do, confidence stops being something you chase and starts being something you embody. Your inner voice is your strongest weapon. The way you talk to yourself determines everything. Your confidence, your success, your resilience. It all comes down to the words you use when no one else is listening. Your inner voice is either your greatest weapon or your greatest weakness. If you constantly feed yourself doubt, negativity, and excuses, you'll never rise to your full potential. But if you start speaking power, belief, and determination into yourself, you become unstoppable. Too many people let their inner voice tear them down. They say things to themselves they would never say to someone they love. I'm not good enough. I'll never make it. I always mess things up. And then they wonder why they feel stuck. You cannot talk like a failure and expect to win. You cannot fill your mind with negativity and expect positive results. Your words shape your reality, and the most important words you'll ever hear are the ones you tell yourself. Think about it. Every champion, every leader, every successful person has mastered the ability to control their inner dialogue. When things get tough, they don't let their minds spiral into doubt. They don't tell themselves it's over. They don't allow fear to take control. Instead, they speak life into themselves. They remind themselves of who they are. They push through the doubt, not because they never feel it, but because they refuse to let it dictate their actions. Your inner voice is programming your brain every single day. If you constantly repeat, I can't do this, your brain will believe it and stop trying. But if you start telling yourself, I always find a way, your brain will look for solutions. If you say, I never follow through, you will continue quitting. But if you say, I am disciplined, I finish what I start, you will begin acting like the person who follows through. Your mind listens to what you tell it. The problem is most people let their inner voice run on autopilot. They don't even realize how much negativity they are feeding themselves every day. They don't recognize that they are the ones standing in their own way. But the moment you become aware, the moment you start listening to the way you talk to yourself, you gain power because now you can make a choice. You can either continue the cycle of self-doubt or you can reprogram your mind for greatness. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing to focus on what strengthens you instead of what weakens you. When you fail, instead of saying, I'm a failure, say, this is a lesson. I'm learning. I'm getting better. When you face a challenge, instead of saying, I can't do this, say, this is tough, but I'll always find a way. When you wake up feeling unmotivated, instead of saying, I don't feel like it, say, I don't need to feel like it. I get things done no matter what. The most powerful people in the world don't have magic. They have control over their minds. They know that if they allow doubt to take over, it will control their actions. But if they take control of their thoughts, they take control of their future. And that's what you need to do. Start paying attention to your inner voice. Start choosing words that build you up instead of tearing you down. Start feeding your mind with belief, strength, and resilience. Because when you learn to master your inner dialogue, there is nothing that can stop you. Become the person you were meant to be. There is a version of you that is stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more confident, and more powerful than the person you are right now. That version of you is waiting to be unlocked, but it will never happen by accident. You don't just wake up one day and become your best self. You have to build that person. You have to become that person. Every decision you make, every habit you form, every belief you hold is either moving you closer to that version of yourself or keeping you stuck exactly where you are. The problem is most people never step into their full potential because they don't see themselves as that next level version yet. They keep making choices based on their current mindset, their current fears, their current insecurities. They keep acting like the person they've always been instead of the person they want to become. But if you want to transform your life, you have to stop making decisions based on your past and start making decisions based on your future. Think about it. If you are already the strongest, most successful, most disciplined version of yourself, how would you think? How would you move? How would you handle challenges? That version of you isn't lazy. That version of you doesn't make excuses. That version of you doesn't let fear dictate their actions. So if that's who you want to become, you have to start living like that now. You don't wait until you feel ready. You don't wait until circumstances are perfect. You step into it. The person you were meant to be is locked inside your daily habits. Every time you push yourself when you don't feel like it, you're unlocking that person. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're unlocking that person. Every time you refuse to let fear stop you, you're unlocking that person. But the opposite is also true. Every time you procrastinate, every time you make excuses, every time you give into weakness, you are delaying your own transformation. This isn't about motivation. Motivation comes and goes. This is about identity. You don't become successful because you feel motivated. You become successful because you take ownership of who you are becoming. You wake up every day and say, I am that person now. And then you act accordingly. When you start operating from that mindset, everything shifts. You stop waiting for the perfect time because you realize the perfect time is right now. You stop letting setbacks define you because you know that every challenge is just a test to see if you're truly ready for that next level. You stop making excuses because you understand that your future self is watching every choice you make today. And listen, this is not about pretending to be someone you're not. This is about growing into who you were always meant to be. The potential is already inside you. The ability is already there. But potential means nothing if you don't activate it. So today, right now, make a decision. Decide to stop living like the old you. Decide to stop thinking small. Decide to stop letting fear and doubt keep you from stepping into your full power. Because the moment you decide, the moment you commit, everything changes.